institutions.
Right. Thank you very much, Ross Feingold, for giving that insight and sharing your expertise as a political analyst. Now we move on. The 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit has officially kicked off in Tianjin, China. The summit focuses on regional security, counter-terrorism, trade, energy, digital cooperation, and food security. Cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and the formal membership of Belarus are also on the key topics. Over 20 world leaders and 10 international organizations are expected to attend, making this the largest SCO summit ever. Russian President Vladimir Putin has spoke ahead of the summit, taking a firm stance against discriminatory sanctions imposed by the US and EU. President Putin said Russia and China share a common position on sanctions that hinder global development. He noted that Russia-China bilateral trade has grown by about US dollars 100 billion since 2021, and that trade is almost completely conducted in rubles and yuan. Putin has also highlighted China as Russia's leading importer of oil and gas. This is the largest SCO summit ever, hosting leaders including Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and other world leaders. Other leaders present include Nepal's KP Sharma Oli, Maldives' President Mohammad Muizzu, and Cambodia's Hun Manet. The summit aims to strengthen SCO's role in stability and regional cooperations. Now for this discussion, we are joined by Ross Feingold. He's a political analyst, joins us live from Taipei. Thank you very much, Ross, for staying with us. Now, how does this expanding role of the SCO highlighted by its largest ever summit reflect shifting geopolitical alliances to from Western-dominated global institutions?
There's certainly a lot of speculation about that in the recent days leading up to the SCO meeting. It's easy to say that President Trump's decisions are changing the world order or upsetting the Western or US-led world order. It's damaging institutions where the US previously had leadership, most notably on trade, but potentially on security as well. I think there's been a bit of a rush to make those conclusions. The SCO, it's not a trade agreement. It's not really a collective security agreement either. It's basically a meeting where a bunch of leaders get together once a year. Not even all the leaders always attend. Modi hasn't attended every single meeting of the SCO. And they issue a communique and they talk about how there needs to be a multipolar world. But when it comes to substantive outcomes from the SCO, I'd encourage the audience to pay attention to that. Or another way to look at it is the lack of substantive outcomes. So they can make whatever statements they want, but how this organization will really function collectively really remains to be seen.
Yes, although they have, yes, Ross, I agree with you. Although they have been in place for about 25 years, we don't know much of outcomes or substantial outcomes that have come out of it. So what do you think is challenging for them to come to a conclusion or a concession like that?
The interesting thing there is that there's a number of options to go to. There's various trade agreements, the multilateral trade agreements that some of these participating countries are part of. There's multilateral financial institutions. For example, there's the infrastructure bank that China helped launch and is based in Beijing that plays a role, and a lot of countries participate in it, but it's still led by China, and it's definitely not an SCO initiative. So it's not clear where these countries really want to go if they want to develop alternatives to the Western or US-led international order and international institutions. And sometimes, frankly, I don't think they want to be left out. Some of these countries that are attending the SCO meeting, they still want funding if they need it from organizations like the World Bank or IMF. They still need to participate in the United Nations and other UN-affiliated organizations as well. And of course, they're always going to engage with the European Union, even if they're mad at the United States. A lot of these countries want to engage with the EU. And then the members from ASEAN who are attending, they have ASEAN institutions to participate in. So again, we're back to that core issue. Well, it's easy to get together once a year and talk and criticize the West or say there needs to be multipolarity. But when it comes to a substantive reason for this organization to exist, that still remains to be seen.
And lastly, what do you think, what are the implications of Russia and China increasing bilateral trade in rubles and yuan?
Of course, they're trying to get away from the use of the US dollar, so they're trying to conduct as much trade as possible in alternative currencies, whether that's rubles, the yuan, or some future digital currency or cryptocurrencies. But at the moment, there's so much talk about that, not just involving Russia and China, but other parts of the world as well. And it's so difficult to move away from the U.S. dollar. Is there going to be more non-U.S. dollar trade in the future? Will more trade be settled in currencies other than the U.S. dollar? Of course, but the amounts we're talking about versus the total volume of international trade, it's so small. This will be a very, very slow process. And whether or not these countries could really work together, can they trust each other, for example, that also is an unknown.
Yes, we will be eyeing that. Thank you very much, Ross Feingold, for joining us and sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well.